All right, go ahead and start the broadcast. I'm going to stop the share in less than 30 seconds, and I'll give you a, hey, you're live.
Perfect.
Remember to start the webinar and let students in, Tim.
Hey, Scott, you want to stop sharing your screen? The show is yours, Reid, after Scott's done.
Thanks, everyone. If you could spotlight me, that'd be perfect. And then we'll let everyone start filtering in. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, everyone, to the Fall 2021 Student Work Webinar. So what today's really going to be about is everyone's starting to pile in. I want to demonstrate for you and take you on a walkthrough of some of our best student work from 2021. So every year we have an amazing event called the Spring Show, and I'm going to let a couple people filter in. We'll do some welcomes. I like to give it about a minute or two. So let's do a little housekeeping real quick. If you notice, there is a chat section. So take a sec, head over to the chat section, and there is a little option to change who you're speaking to. So update your chat to everyone. If you're on YouTube, this doesn't pertain to you. If you're in Zoom, jump over here, switch over to everyone. So at the end, when you're posting some of your questions, I'll be able to see those. I'll be able to respond. I do have people both in YouTube and in the chat here in Zoom that are going to be able to respond to any questions while I am speaking. Just know that once I start sharing my screen, I'm not able to see any of those chat questions. So our team will do the best they can to answer those questions on the spot live. But afterwards, what we'll do is I'll circle back, and anything that didn't get answered, they'll kind of relay it to me, and I could break it down and try to give everyone the answers they're looking for. But so excited to have all of you join us today. It's going to be an amazing opportunity to see some of the best student work from Academy of Art University. This is coming from our Spring Show, which is our biggest event of the year every year. And once we get a little more of a head count here, I'll be able to dive right in, start sharing my screen, and I'll demonstrate for you the amazing things our students are doing. Okay, looking pretty steady on the Zoom side. I'm guessing it's going to be pretty steady as well on the other part. So I see a lot of people in the chat. You're all responding right now to the hosts and panelists. So jump over to your chat and change it to everyone. So that way, when you put in a question or a response, everybody can see what you're chatting as opposed to just myself and the panelists. So change it from hosts and panelists to everyone. And if you have an older version of Zoom, it would be all attendees and panelists. Yep, I see a lot of people getting some good stuff in there. Looks like we have 70 plus people in Zoom, and not sure what the head count's looking like on YouTube. I'm sure it's probably pretty close to the same. Let's do this. I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen in a second here. So now that we got a little more steady of a head count, again, today's event is the Spring Show webinar. So what today's all about, I want to demonstrate for you our best student work from 2021. Our students are doing some amazing things. And one of the really cool things is that they don't just work within their own programs. There's really great examples of collaborative projects our students are doing, as well as being able to demonstrate for everyone really just what's happening across these different programs, the type of work that their students are able to create. I'm going to have some videos to show you. I'm going to have some live work to play with and some actual video games students have made. So we're going to see a lot of things today. So I'm going to start by sharing the screen. And let's talk a little bit about the Spring Show. So the Spring Show is our biggest event of the year at Academy of Art University. So Let me make sure. I want to make sure I maximize everything. Okay, good. So our spring show, biggest event of the year. And I want to start by just playing everyone a video so you can actually see what spring show is all about. You could get a real sense of it. And then we'll go through our website and I can teach you how to navigate. You could come back here later, check it out.
The Spring Show is the representation of all our very best student work from each academic department at the university.
All of the different schools of the university. We get to see all of their output at once, and the output's tremendous. You have these individual schools that tend to operate with blinders on for a lot of the time, but when they all come together and you can see everything from sculpture to jewelry to interior design, architecture, it's fantastic to see everything come together.
One of the most exciting parts about the spring show is something called Industry Day. And what we do at the Academy of Art University is we fly in industry professionals from all over the country to look at student work. This is one of our industry professionals, Dave Markowitz, and he's got some really cool things to tell you.
Hi, I'm Dave Markwitz. I'm the lead animator at Jam City. I come to the spring show every year. There's such a diverse skill set that's here that I haven't seen in any other school. So every year is something changing, something new. It just blows my mind how creative everybody is here.
The spring show is the single most important day of our year. It's an opportunity for our students to meet the industry in a low impact setting, and it allows them to kind of sharpen what it is that they say about themselves and how they present themselves. We're very happy to be releasing another flock into the wild. Happy to have industry come in, initiate them into the professional community. It's always a really fun day.
All right, so that was our spring show event. So for myself, right now, what I do at Academy of Art is I oversee the admissions department. And, you know, when I first started here in 2013, I went to my first spring show. We hosted that one live in person at Palace of the Fine Arts. And it was just incredible to see all the different programs, the different work that students had. And what happened in 2020 that I think kind of changed the educational landscape was COVID-19. So when the coronavirus started impacting our population, a lot of jobs, schools all went remote learning and online for student safety. So one of the really unique things that I think is so important to acknowledge is that has created a situation where we've had to be able to adapt. We had to become more nimble. And one of the really amazing things when you're looking at it is that you're able to actually see that now we have this amazing online component. So this is normally this huge on-site 2,000 different people that we have working on it. And it's really incredible to see these things. So now that we have this online platform, this is going to be here to stay. We're going to be able to put students in a position where they constantly are going to be able to see exactly what they're looking for online or on site. And we have students that are online that come from all over the country. So when you come to the Spring Show site now, you can come here to navigate. You could see by program, you could see highlighted student work, you could see collaborative projects. Now, the way the Spring Show works, this is the best of the best work from all of our programs. This is not just a senior showcase. There are a lot of seniors here because their skill level has gotten so high at this point. But when you come down, you can start seeing every single program broken out. So we have architecture, graphic design, you have industrial design, you have photography. Then you go down, we have some of our featured artists who are some of the people that possibly are even winning the awards that year. Who are the people that maybe won best in show or some of the top honors of their programs. Then we have a collaborative project section. A collaborative project, really incredible, because you're actually able to see the works from departments where they're all working together on these massive projects. And then we come down to foundations. Now, the one thing I like to do, I like to come to the bottom here. You'll notice I'm going all the way through. I'm going to circle back. I'm going to highlight some of this stuff for you. But I like to show the whole layout, and then I like to circle back. So foundations is where I like to start. What we're talking about is most of the work you're going to see in the spring show is all going to be your third year, fourth year students, your graduate thesis students, your graduate final projects, your undergraduate students in their senior, junior years doing their higher level projects. But what's amazing about foundations are these are the early classes that students take right when they enter the program. So this work here could be first semester and second semester work. So when you look at a class like figure drawing, this is taken by students in their second semester for the more drawing impacted programs. Think fine arts, think illustration, think visual development, think game concept art, 2D animators, things of that nature. This class here, analysis of form, this is a class taken in the first semester. So analysis of form process. You look at the portraits and the still life, this is still analysis of form work. So these could be students fresh out of high school in their first semester. And I'm telling you, when you got a portrait like these portraits can have upwards of 50, 60, 70 hours put into them. You come down to perspective. This is a beast of a class, but the perspective class, really incredible, challenging. And then you come down to something like the color and design. This is all gouache watercolor. Or you come down to color fundamentals, which is another color theory class, but this is all taught in Photoshop. So for example, an advertising student, an animation student might take the Photoshop focused color class for color theory, but an illustrator or fine artist is going to take your gouache watercolor painting, which is going to give them a different technique, but the same understanding of color theory. So really incredible to check out the foundation work because that's such early skill building classes that they really lay that rock solid foundation for where those artists are going to go. Now I'm going to come back to the collaborative projects. Let's take a look at some of the programs. I love to highlight what's happening here. Architecture, always pretty cool to see what's going on in architecture. It's a path to licensure program. Not only do they hold regional and national accreditation, like all of our programs hold regional accreditation, but this program specifically also has NAB accreditation, which is required for Bachelor of Architecture degrees. But you see a lot of actual models happening. Very real. The student projects, how they come to life. Let's take a look at one. Someone's project was the Outer Mission Ramp Library. And this is how students are able to show their work. So this was actually a Master of Architecture thesis project. They get to come in here, show their work, lay it all out, and look how thorough and complete and comprehensive these projects are. So not only do the students have an opportunity to display their work, but it's year-round on the website. They could direct potential employers and any opportunities they have to these sites. Other individuals can find this work. They could actually pull it up. They could pull up their resumes when they list them and things of this nature. So it becomes this way for students to not only display their work, but also get recruited. And all the people, the companies, the organizations that we have relationships with, we're directing them here. So we're trying to get them to go here so they could actually see these things. And when they're able to see them, this is why it's so amazing. They're able to actually come here, direct them. They have this really beautiful place where everything's laid out. We can send potential employers to these sections, say, hey, actually, if you're looking for a game development concept artist, head over here. These are the programs we'd say you should look at. Now, one thing they highlight, I saw featured artists. I saw this and I thought this was cool. I actually saw this guy posting on our school Facebook page. He was so thrilled. This is his first level work. So this is actually a Studio One, one of the first classes that a student would take in the architecture department. He's actually a landscape architecture student. But what I thought was amazing, he did this class 100% online. He's going to be an online student. And I hear all the time people go, well, how are you going to get your work done? How's it going to happen online? And I always see these incredibly thorough and detailed projects coming out of the online environment because that's how we built the curriculum. But you can see he even has a link to go to his student profile, so we could go check that out. But it's just a great way for people to have their work on display, have a place that people could go to see it, and really direct potential employers too. Now, outside of just the program specific and the foundations, I think collaborative projects are what really separate our school and set us apart. So you come down here and all these collaborative projects, these are happening not just within a single program, but across multiple programs. So this is where students from all different programs can come together to actually work on these comprehensive integrated projects. So this is called Audi Beyond, Integrated Campaign. And what's really cool about this, you're looking and here was their team of collaborators. They had someone doing user experience and motion graphics. They had someone doing an architecture design. They had a fashion designer, another fashion designer, and a graphic designer. So this was actually a web design and new media student. And look at all the different people they collaborated with to make this project come to life. And these collaborative projects, these are going to be found normally in the junior, senior level curriculum. And then MFA thesis students can take these classes as well to work towards their thesis in support of it. I just think it's a great way to see all the different projects, how that collaboration can really bring a project to life in a different way. You're going to get different insight, different perspectives. Let's take a look. Let's see. That one there wasn't as much collaboration happening there. Let's take a look at Hope for Peace. Oh, wow. Yeah, this one's really cool. So this is a bigger campaign. And, even President Elisa Stevens got involved with this one, and Phil Hamlin and Mary Scott. So this looks like a faculty run, enormous campaign. And they actually did multiple teams, which went into this competition to try to win this competition. So pretty cool to just see the different types of programs. So I've seen projects that come, I've seen BMW, Jaguar, Audi, lots of industrial design based real car projects that companies come here and want us to come up with designs, Nike, Ghirardelli, all of these things like rebranding campaigns, or they want to get the insight of students who maybe aren't limited by their industry knowledge. And they actually want that creativity that comes from students. So these collaborative projects too that we work on, these are such amazing ways to highlight the ways our university can really support the industry currently. And that's why they keep coming to our students. So when we come over here, let's take a look at something a little more drilled down. Let's highlight a couple of these programs. So I think the work of this student is a really cool piece because I think it kind of gives you an idea of how animations are really built at a school like this. So let's take a look. Just want to capture that so you can see kind of what's going on here. So what I thought was really cool, this is pretty much one student doing the majority of this. He did incorporate some other students. You could see Lizzie and Kevy helped out. But when you look at it, I really love that this student's showing kind of the flow that's happening within the 2D side. They're doing the layout, the backgrounds, the animation, the storyboards. But all of that is just a great way for the student to be able to highlight their work, show what they've been working on, and then highlight themselves. They have a contact me, they have their own artist website here. So you're going to see when I'm showing you different student pages that they really do have different levels of how they list their contact info, their resume. Some have way more stuff, some have less, but it's just a great opportunity for these students to actually get their work out there, have it on display in one place. And this is really a place where employers, headhunters can stumble across someone too. Now this one's pretty cool. This is Space Cat Pirates. This one's pretty cool. I like going to this and just taking a look. So this student built an entire game, and that's what the game development department does. You're talking about areas of focus or include game design, they include concept art, and they include the 3D modeling. Now we also have a game programming degree here. It's a Bachelor of Science. So we could do everything from the concept to the finished playable product at a school like this. And that's one of the really incredible things. And look at all the people. You got UI, UX, you got concept artists, you have people working on you have all the game designers working together. So you get this really comprehensive game where it's actually a playable game. So I'm gonna actually go to the game after we watch a video of it and show you what that looks like. Space Pirate. So let's take a look at from the spring show. I want to go down to the game department. Let's take a look at how that looks. So you can learn more about it. We can actually play demo games, the game we just watched. We come down, we could see all the different work from students. And again, it's going to highlight those areas of focus, right? The concept art, the modeling, the game design. And look how much student work there is at this high level. I mean, it just goes on. And then you get down to the game demos. You can see there's 3 different games that are playable right from here. We go to the game that we just watched. And I think one of the things to understand is if you're a big gamer, you're thinking like, oh, Final Fantasy 7 or these amazing games, they are not created by one person. They're massive undertakings. But a game like this to be created in a single semester is amazing. The last time I played this game, I got my butt kicked at it. Just heads up. Oh, see? I'm really bad at this one. Guess I'll need to take the day off tomorrow and practice a little more, right? But that's what's cool. You could actually come play the games. I remember the first spring show I was at 2013. They had a whole game station where I was playing all the students' games right there on the systems they were made for, the different operatings. They had VR headsets I could put on. And that was 2013. That's something that's consistently happening. They have virtual reality games. They have augmented reality games. They have just your normal mobile and video games. But that's what's so cool about a school like this is it's not just the idea of learning a skill within the pipeline. It's understanding your role in the pipeline, working with other people within that pipeline to create full finished products. Now you come over to something like industrial design. I think industrial design is a really interesting program in the sense that I think transportation is what normally comes to mind for people. And that is a big part of industrial design. And that's something we do well here. But product design is something that is everywhere in the world around you. I mean, look at this. This is the toothbrush, the mirrors, the furniture, your actual things like the smoke detectors in your home, the computer you're on right now, the mouse you're using. All of this is product development. So you look at these projects, then you come and take a look at an actual project. Look how full and kind of like comprehensive of a project this is. So this is just an MA student, so Master of Arts, a little shorter program at the graduate level. And what he's talking about is this product, the AQ01. This is actually a product he's conceptualized to understand there's a fire coming before the fire has come. So you can see it's really technical where they're going to design it. They have these really beautiful digital graphics. That's where the skill is. It's a lot of hand drawing. It's a lot of digital skills at a school like this. So you can put together these very thorough, comprehensive projects. This actual motion graphics. So they're trying to show you that there's a need for a product that's called the proof of concept, that something's needed in the market. They're going to do research in industrial design. They're going to make sure that they're going to be able to lay out a look that looks real and authentic. They're going to be able to create these things. It's almost like an advertising campaign for it because they think about everything from start to finish. The research for the need all the way to the finished product that we're seeing. And take a look at the hand drawing and the way the concept changes over time, all the variations, all the different levels that they go through till they say that's the one. And this happens for visual development students, animation students. This is happening for your game concept artists, your illustrators. There's all this conceptual sketching that happens to really determine what your final look's going to be for everything. Look at how they actually get hands on their building these models. So it's not just the sketching, now it's what can actually be practically built. Is it even possible to build what I'm sketching out? And then they even did a short video. Now, when you watch the video for this, I mean, this was not your motion picture television student. They're not an advertising student, but they're trying to show that they have this comprehensive idea from the packaging, the look, the brand, to actually showing you their process and their concept and their thinking to what it can actually accomplish. So now let's take a look. I want to show you an actual, this video is really cool because I think one of the things that's biggest at the spring show is the way industry is there to give feedback. And I really do love to show what that looks like. So let me, what that experience is like from the students aspect when they're actually talking about their designs, they're giving them real feedback in real time and what that looked like during COVID. Now, in-person spring shows, those are going to be normally right there face to face. They're looking at your work, they're shaking your hand, you're handing business cards to each other. But for this last 2 years, we've had to get very creative with how we deliver the spring show and take a look at how that professional feedback takes place.
I'm your AstroBee host, your virtual assistant here on the ISS. I'm a multifunctional robot with different personas. Here are 2 others you need to meet.
That this is based on?
So some of it were the noise, as you can see at one point, we put some background noise and then we show how we're trying to solve it with noise cancellation, for instance.
Interesting design. And my question is, like, you've been talking about, I think, blending into the nature, but you have like geometric straight lines.
And normally teardrop trailer has a lot of curving line. So I was thinking, like, if I go with the straight line, it will be different.
Some, really subtle little details in changing the degrees and the MMs to make the user experience that much better.
So I went into that direction of simplifying the form of the foot and the shoe just to fit that more performance-based aspect.
Really nice sketch language. You definitely have a fantastic illustration background. I love the map painting and the feeling, the ambiance of the sketches.
It's great to be here to see so many former student of ours that we went through the early stage of our development of the program, and now you guys are here judging it and making great comments and observations. I really appreciate it, how you guys progressed after the school. And, this is what the whole community is all about. And more we get you guys back, our program strength's going to be increased.
All right, so I hope that was something that really, oh, that's crazy. Okay, so I was still on camera. Okay, good to know. I'm used to having that little bubble so I can actually see myself when I'm talking. Someone just sent me a thing like, hey, you're on camera. So had to go turn the AC off. Actually got a little cold in the house. So that's the spring show for you. If you saw Tom Matano there, he's one of my favorite people. He's actually, he was one of the lead designers at Mazda for years. And he was actually the person, he won car designer of the year and he won car of the year for the Mazda Miata. So it was actually a pretty revolutionary. It's one of those things where you think about it, you're like, the Miata? But it was everywhere. It was one of these really, really cool things that just made it so incredible, so unique. And, to have his expertise there, I went to his 20th anniversary, 30th anniversary of the Mazda Miata. I think I still have it. Yeah. They had these at the cool little event, one of our warehouses where the industrial design building is. And Tom Matano is being honored 30th anniversary of the Mazda Miata right there in this amazing car museum that we have on campus. And, he took us on a tour and it's so incredible. Some just said, Tom is a legend, hype for transport. It's incredible. And, I just went up to shake his hand like, hey, huge congrats. He's like, could I show you some of my favorite cars in the museum? I'm like, yeah, please. Walked around with him for like 20 minutes and, we worked together. We have a relationship, but I was really touched. He took time out of his big night, walked me around, showed me his stuff. But that's the kind of faculty you're going to run into here also. And that's one of the things, the more I get to know the people, they always seem so down to earth that I'm always shocked when I actually learn what they do. I'm like, wait, you worked on that? I'm like, oh, okay. I think back 2013, one of my first days in the cafeteria, I sat down, one of the teachers was like, oh, you can have lunch with me. I sat down, we got to talking. Diana Coco Russell was her name. And still teaches here, just limited now, I believe. And at the time, she had a way bigger workload back then, but we're sitting there talking and she goes, hey, yeah, well, I used to work, I worked at Disney for a long time. I'm like, oh, what'd you do there? She's like, oh, I just, I did all the villains for a while there. I did like, Jafar, Scar, the hyenas. And I'm just saying, you're like, oh, those are like some of my favorite movies from my childhood. That's wild. So pretty cool just to run into people. And she was just, one of our teachers. And that's kind of one of those things that blow me away. I meet people, they're like, oh, I worked on all the Star Wars. Just like, oh my gosh, we watch those all the time. So that stuff just blows my mind. But the student work's what really gets me, because sometimes I have this misconception our students are kids. And I think like that because, you think of college, 17 is when a lot of people get started. We have so many people are doing these change of careers or these new opportunities to add new professional skills, to even make big career changes. We meet people all the time like, oh, I'm a lawyer, I'm successful and I hate it. And, oh, I want to be a web designer. And hey, that's pretty incredible. And the spring show is the chance we have for our students to show exactly what they can do. And that's what I love about it. It's not just senior showcase or something. It's best of the best. If your work's not there, the department says, hey, we're not going to be able to show that, you aren't going to, that's not good enough to get into the show this year. And here's what you need to do next year if you want to be in the show. And I respect that. It's not like everyone gets a participation ribbon. It's best of the best. You could be a sophomore or freshman. If your work's lights out, it makes the show. And that's something that always made me really impressed about the school. So, for us, I can't see what anyone's saying on YouTube. I could see the chat in here. If you guys do want to, you could throw any questions out to me. That was just a chance for me to highlight it for you. I really would tell you, whatever your program is, jump over to the spring show. Let me put the link in the chat for all of you. Jump over to the spring show. Take a look. Go to your program. Go to the one that you get the most excited about. If you're an animator, go check out animation. Go check out the game development. Go check out the similar program. If you're an illustrator, go look at fine arts, illustration. visual development. Go look at all those similar programs and take some time, see what's out there, see what the students that are graduating from one of the top art and design schools are actually able to create. And those are the people that, if that's the industry you want to be in, ideally, if it's a couple of years out for you, those might be the people hiring you in a few years. But that's the level of competition. That's where you're going to need to get those skills. So if we got about 80 people right now, if you have any questions about the spring show, what it's about, if you feel like I missed anything, or you want me to kind of reiterate on something, please fire away. I like it. Yeah, good energy. No, I think it's I think it's all about making sure if art and design is what you're looking for, that's what this school specializes in. There's a lot of great art and design schools out there, but when I see our student work, I'm pretty confident in where we should rank and where our students rank. And they don't have trouble. The work I'm showing you there, these people do not have trouble landing jobs. They do not have trouble getting into their industries because look at what they're producing. You already know what you're getting. If you're a car design, if you're a car company, if you're Blizzard, if you're Pixar, you literally can see right in front of you where that student's skill is, and you already have a sense of the type of professional they'll be. The spring show usually happens right in late May, so it's always wrapping up right at the end of that spring semester for us. I might stay local, but I'm still going to go to these Zoom calls because I have no idea what I'm doing. That's okay. That's what these things are for. They're a chance for people to explore. They're a chance for us all to connect, right? COVID's been really weird. It changed the landscape of education, of jobs. Think about it. People are, I was Monday through Friday in an office every day my whole life, and I haven't been to the office since March of last year. It's wild. It was a big change for us as professionals, and on the administrative side, it's a big change for teachers and students. It's a big change for the workforce, but it's also made us all adapt more. It's made us more nimble, a little leaner, more creative. These types of online events are a way for us to connect in ways that maybe a student wouldn't have ever had that opportunity. And even when I say the spring show, I mean, these are amazing. You go in person, everyone like dresses up, suits and ties. Some students are wearing tuxedos. They're serving wine and champagne. There's ahi tuna crackers. Like it is an amazing event. It is just the person that sets that up for us every year. Her and her team do such an incredible job. And it's this huge event of the night. But when COVID hit, it made us get lean. We used to just be like, hey, and here is the spring show, kind of like work from past years. And it was okay. But what we had to do in 2020 was have the spring show 100% online. And that's going to be here to stay. So that was kind of like a blessing in disguise for us because it made us more nimble and it made us get ready to do it. And we have online students. You get into that spring show, students come out here just for that event. Get a hotel for a couple nights. They bring friends and family. They have a blast. So let me start tackling some of these questions. Do we need to put together art portfolio to apply? You do not. In those foundation classes I showed you, those like that analysis of form where they were doing those still lifes, those charcoals, that is one of our first classes. And that's set up that way to teach you from the ground up. I actually took that class for a couple of weeks, got my pencils, got my sketch pad, just followed along for a few weeks to get a feel for what it was like. And it was very easy rev up early on. It wasn't like too many hours, but by the time you get to that end, that portrait final, well, like I said, some of those portraits you saw, that is literally 40, 50 hours of work on a portrait where they're just keep refining and going over and over with their charcoal. So you do not need a portfolio, but if you have one, submit one. That way we can make sure we're not putting you into classes that are maybe too basic for you. Someone said, could you touch quickly on the difference between 2D and 3D? So 2D and 3D, I'm assuming you're talking about animation. So within our animation program, there's a lot of different areas people could go into. We even have, it's more niche, and it's not something we advertise for, but there's even a production area of focus. So you could be the producer, someone like kind of more product, team manager, production management. But you're looking at 2D, which is going to be your traditional. So that's going to be traditional animation, which is what you think of when you think of like Lion King. But then there's storyboard. Storyboard is going to be a heavy drawing focused one. The modeling in the animation. Modeling is the people that make the characters. A rigger is someone that makes those characters move in the 3D world. A 3D animator is someone that puts it all together. You're talking about like the way the voices and the mouth and everything kind of connects and flows. You have visual effects artists. Even within visual effects, there's areas of specialty like compositing of particles, dynamics, stuff like that. So it gets really wild how detailed it is, but that's what we teach in those early years. You get this kind of well-rounded, that first year, this well-rounded understanding the different areas of a major like game or animation. But as you go, you'll kind of see one, what you like the best, and two, what maybe you're best suited for. You're like, hey, I thought I was going to be a storyboard artist, but shocking, like I'm really good at visual effects. And suddenly you start taking classes that's going to be your specialty. So when you graduate, it's not like I know a little bit about everything. It's like, I know a little bit about all that stuff, but this is what I am great at. This is what my portfolio shows. And that's the job you get hired for. You know, you don't go to Pixar or, you know, Industrial Light and Magic. They aren't hiring for someone that knows a little bit about everything. They have very specific job descriptions. We need a visual effects artist for compositing art. That's it. And that's what our students leave with, is this extremely specialized skill set. Someone said, how could someone who is a beginner improve their skills? What's the best thing to do? Start small. You know, it's like baby steps. It's building habits, you know, pencil to paper if you need to start drawing. If it's digital, download some of the free software if you can. Get some of the Adobe software, you know, InDesign, Illustrator, Photoshop, After Effects, get Maya. They have cheap versions, student versions, things like that. But what I would say is it really just comes down to being able to put in the time, and that doesn't happen overnight. Don't try to start putting in 5 hours a day, day one. Try just some simple. Start small, 30 minutes a day drawing. Then after 2 weeks, maybe up that to an hour a day. But it's being consistent. It's making sure you don't go like, oh, well, I drew for 5 hours and now I took 2 weeks off. You know, I do another webinar for all the students that are brand new, registered, about to start classes. And I always compare it to either the gym or playing guitar, where I'm like, listen, you picked up a guitar and worked super hard on a guitar for a week, you played 2 hours a day, fingers would be calloused, they'd probably even crack and bleed. You still wouldn't be very good at guitar. You might start putting something together that sounds like a chord or two or a song. But if you play guitar every day for an hour for 6 months, by 6 months from now, you see real improvement. I mean, shoot, you go shoot a free throw and you're like, I'm terrible at free throws. Well, shoot 100 free throws a day for 6 months. I'll tell you what, 6 months from now, you'll be darn good at free throws. I'm interested in attending. I'm a beginning artist and I've always been drawing, but I just started to take it serious my senior year. Will I be able to attend and improve? I'd say that happens a lot. And that's also because art's not one of those things front and center at school. You maybe don't even get a chance now. And unfortunately, you know, at high schools now, like that's one of the first things that got cut when they have budget issues. They go, oh, cut arts and crafts and theater. And it's like, man, there's a reason that stuff's part of our education. It's good for the soul. It's good to explore those things. What I'd say, anyone who's a high school senior, I would be recommending you're looking into our pre-college art experience program. We have online classes taught by the same faculty that teach our real classes. They're a little shorter. They're there just to give you a little taste of it, a little intro, not to overwork you. It's not something that you should be nervous about. You should at least try to take one online class, get a feel for it. But we have tons of classes from all the programs I just showed you. For fashion design, how do I get accepted to the spring show? Well, there's a lot of areas within fashion. If you're talking specifically about design, that's going to be a very competitive field. It's a lot of work. And I'll tell you what, I've even gotten this feedback from the fashion faculty. They say everyone thinks they want to be a designer. Everyone thinks they want to be Vera Wang or Calvin Klein. But, you know, you get into the small rooms or your workstation, you're jabbing yourself with a pin while you're sewing everything. And, you know, suddenly people realize, and one of them always said it, they're like, it's a rare bird that really is a fashion designer. It's not a lot of people are suited for it, but there's so many areas within fashion people are, you know, whether it's product development, merchandising, visual merchandising, styling, journalism, whatever it might be. But that's why early on you get that exposure. So if in your first year you were doing fashion design, you're like, oh God, I don't know. Like I took those other two classes I really liked and I'm not loving sewing. It's like, oh, well, now you know, it's not going to be fashion design. But that saying that, I would tell you, you know, you got to have a really kick butt collection. And that's what you work on. Fashion designers don't develop that collection overnight. They take lots of classes early, and then they work on collection-based focused classes for about the last 3 years of their degree. Looks like a lot of you are actually students registered. Everyone's saying, I can't wait to start. I'm really glad you came, because I think this is what you should be striving for. You're going to hear the students that have been in the school for a year or two starting to talk. You're going to say like, oh, what's the spring show? And now all of you will already know and have a sense of that. Are there opportunities for students to network and collaborate? Or are classes mixed? Yeah, I mean, later in the program, you'll be notified about all collaborative projects that could be a good fit for you. Your faculty will be well-versed. You're not going to be taking a collaborative project like, year 1 or 2 necessarily, because you're still building the skills to be a valuable member of a collaborative project team. But what does happen is, you could, there's art electives along the way, so you could take classes in other majors. There might be opportunities, and there's general education classes that aren't like what you're thinking though. Yeah, there's history and math components and English components. There's a lot of other classes that could align with your interests, but be something that you could take with students from all other majors. I take classes here once in a while. I did the social media certification program. So it's a six class program to do a certification. And every one of my classes had students from all over programs. Someone said, what's the difference between an AA and a BFA? So your AA degree is an associate's, a BFA is a bachelor degree. An AA is going to be half the length of time, but you're also not developing that full circle of skill. You're getting there, you're going to take 16 classes in the game major. So you're going to develop some real skills, but the BFA is where you're going to get those 26 classes. And that's where you start doing those collaborative projects and these larger, more comprehensive ones. Cody, it's a great question, man. He said, hey man, I'm 27, I'm jamming, I'm just paying my bills, but I want to make it work. I want to come to Academy of Art. Can I make it work where I come on campus? And I'll be really honest with you, it's possible, but it's going to be tough, man. The odds are against you in that scenario. But I would just tell you, man, at the very end, I'm going to put my email in here. Shoot me an email. I'll get you set up with an admissions rep who can at least shoot you straight, let you know what your options are, be really clear and honest with you, and at least let you know those resources and those options so you can make the decision that's best for you. But again, I think one of the big mistakes people make is saying, if I can't be on campus, then I don't want to be at a school. And that just limits your options. And the reality is, like I said, these jobs are changing. These jobs, this whole landscape of the world is changing, where this is now going to be a skill, like knowing how to operate and meet deadlines and work through Zoom and through online and through email is going to become a skill set that is highly valued by companies. How should I start an animation? Start out with storyboarding. So if you're starting out in our school, it's going to be a mixture. That you're going to have a drawing class, a digital class, so the history of animation class. So you can get this full, well-rounded intro into that major. But if you're just starting out now, it kind of depends. If you're more acclimated towards the artistic drawing side, then I'd be just watching some basic YouTube videos. I'd try to follow along and things like that. But I would also be doing our pre-college classes if you're in high school still. Alfredo says, I understand graphic design is available to get the Adobe Creative Suite. So every student that is registered here is eligible to get the Adobe Creative Cloud for free. That is part of your enrollment kind of package, so to speak. So you have to go to your portal, you got to set up your student email, and then from your student email, you could set up your Adobe Creative Cloud. Someone said, I'm going to be attending online. Am I still going to be able to make connections and network? Absolutely. And we also have an amazing Facebook group called AAUHU, and that's a student-run Facebook group. It's got almost 9,000 students. That's like as many students as we have at school, and it's incredible. I've seen people make connections where they're like, oh, I'm an interior architect and the student. I live in this part of Florida. Is anyone here? And someone's like, oh my God, me too. I'm interior architecture and design, and I live like 10 miles from you. Next thing you know, you literally see it happening, and it's pretty cool to see that. But that's a great place. Your classroom is going to be a great place. Coming to events like this is a great thing to do. And that's the thing. You could join clubs and organizations. You don't have to be on site anymore. It's all changed. Someone said, would Academy of Art support a certificate program? We don't have a certificate program per se. So the certification I did for social media is very unique. It's kind of like a niche and a one-off. I'd tell you it's either the AA or the BFA. And honestly, I would just tell everyone, I tell most people, go for the bachelor degree. It just opens more doors, and associates can actually leave a lot of those doors closed for you. Now, the difference in art and design is your skill set can also land you jobs in these industries. So it kind of depends, you know, maybe starting the AA with the intention to continue to the BFA if that's where your head is, but something like that. Someone said, how would you describe the BFA acting department? Well, the acting department, I tell you, it's extremely comprehensive or collaborative, because you got to think the acting students, the motion picture, television, and the writing for TV, film, digital media. So they have this huge, like, kind of intermeshed connection between them right out of the gates. And that doesn't even count like the music students being involved, maybe some of the other students from other programs, but that's called the school, you know, it's like their over department is like the School of Entertainment, and it's pretty incredible. Someone says, a high school student, should I take those pre-college classes during my senior year or during the summer? Definitely during your senior year. Once you graduate high school, you're no longer eligible. Give me a sec, just getting check out how many pieces do you need to have to present at spring show. It depends. You know, I had actually one of my coworkers, she didn't even apply to be in the spring show, and her teacher was like, hey, your project was so good, I want to show it at the spring show. So she just kind of got that happy surprise, like, oh, okay, I guess I'm in the spring show. But it's not pieces necessarily. Like if it's fashion, it's going to be a collection, might make it. If it's other programs, it might just be like one portrait, one painting. It might be a whole collection of things that create this comprehensive thing. Someone said, could you give us your email? Yeah, I absolutely can. Let me put my email in there, and then hopefully it doesn't take me too far down. I see a lot of messages here. Hey, okay, so let me see. Oh, good. I was almost there. It's almost to the bottom before I did that. Can you send that? So I don't know if I have the AAUHU Facebook group. Now it's a private group, so they're only going to let you into the AAUHU group if you're a current student. And it's okay, but I mean, the idea is it's for Academy of Art students, alumni, stuff like that. Someone said, what kind of test scores do I need? ACT and SAT. We don't, those scores don't matter to us. I mean, they matter, I guess, depending on who you ask, but for our university, that's not something we require for entry. And I'll be really blunt with you. If we looked at things like GPA, SAT scores, and ACT scores, we probably would have lost some of our very best alumni along the way. Someone said, can you give a little more information about fashion design? I don't know exactly what I want. I like business, sewing, like to have my own brand, but I don't know how to start or how a school would help me. I mean, I would tell you it's probably a good conversation to have with, and just remember too, in your chat, change it to everyone, not just hosts and panelists. But, you know, if you're talking about fashion design, but you're saying, I'd love to have a brand, I also like sewing, but I like the business aspect, then maybe you are actually more like product development. And that's more from the concept to the launch of a product. You think about a collection, a brand, think about getting it to market, how you get it into a boutique and things like that. Again, Andrew, no GPA requirement. You just have to be able to show that you did complete high school education, enter the undergraduate program, and enter our graduate program, you must have completed a bachelor degree. Someone said, well, they teach us to do comics. Yeah, we have an amazing comic graphic novel area of focus within the illustration department. You know, Jordan, I mean, it's a great question. What makes someone's art stand out? What's eye-catching, unique? I mean, I think someone else said it before where they were like, it's kind of in the eye of the beholder, right? There's plenty of things where they're like, that's art and that's incredible. And I look at it and I'm like, I don't get it, man. And there's other stuff that I love and people, I'm like, I want to buy that. That's cool. And people are like, really? Okay. So, I mean, I think it is what it is. I don't know what makes, so, you know, what made Banksy Banksy? Like, you know, the guy who's drawing like rats on the wall. And I think his art's really cool, but I mean, let's be honest, it doesn't look like it's this insanely complicated type of art. And maybe that's what made it so amazing and interesting. So I think it's all perspective, but that is something they touch on in all these programs, especially like more of these fine art programs, illustration. It's how do I value my work? How do I value my time? Where are the business practices? Photography is a good example. And these things are just built into the concept of the class. Like, do they have professional classes and businesses and things like that, like business minded courses? Yeah. But that concept of how do I value my work? How do I get my work out there? How do I market myself? That is built into almost just like the core of our university and how we're doing those things. All right, so I'm going to put my email address in there again, just in case anyone doesn't have it. Feel free to share it to the YouTube chat too as well for me, everyone. That'd be great. Someone says a common to get hired at one industry and stick with them as an animator or do freelancing. I mean, I think it depends. You know, I think a lot of people go into it thinking maybe I do want to work at Pixar, and then they end up at a smaller company and they like wearing more hats. They do more, they get to dip their finger in more things. But you go work at a big company like Pixar and you have a very defined job, very defined role. It's like, hey, you know, if you're the 3D animator, you're definitely not doing the characters and the heroes and the villains early on. You know, what they need you to animate early on is like the little trees that sway in the wind when the hero drives by them. So it's one of those funny things, you know, you got to kind of earn your stripes early on. Look at that. 2 people already are like, hey, I'm in Louisiana. I'd say if you're selected for the spring show, you should absolutely fly out. That's what I mean. I'd fly out for spring show. I'd fly out for graduation. Those are like the musts in my mind. And I just think they love it. You love seeing the people, especially if you're an online student, you've known your faculty for 2 years, your other students 3 years maybe, and then you get to go actually see them, grab lunch with them. I know, you know, these department directors love to have meet and greets with their students. Some of them are going to lunch with them, especially if you've been in their program for a long time. And they've spent a lot of time with you outside of the classroom through Zoom meetings and office hours, stuff like that. So it looks like we're coming right up to the time here. It's almost 6 o'clock. For anyone in high school right now, I encourage you, check out our pre-college art experience. So you could literally just go to the website, click on that search icon, top right-hand corner, knock that in. There's a little application there. If you're in high school, you'll need your parent to also be with you when you apply. You need to put in your parent info as well. But it's free application. There is no cost for the pre-college. It is completely free. 1 or 2 classes might have some basic supplies, like I need pencil and paper, or you take a fashion class and maybe you need some material, some fabric, stuff like that. Those classes for pre-college start, I believe, I want to say 3 weeks. So school, Academy of Art School starts next week, but the pre-college starts a little bit after that. What's the best app for interior design? I really don't, I wouldn't know, to be honest. I mean, I know they use SketchUp at our school and stuff if you're talking about like what you could use, but if you're talking about like for fun or playing around, I'm not really sure. I'd probably just do a Google search. It always yields some pretty good results for me. Thanks, everyone. It sounded pretty rough. It's weird. I usually have this little box in my right-hand corner so I could see myself while I'm doing. And I couldn't see the box this time. So it's kind of funny. I got up, turned the AC off, come back, and it's like, hey, we can all see you. I'm like, no, you know, thank goodness I was wearing pants and not like basketball shorts or something, right? Got that like Zoom outfit on. All right, so looks good. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us tonight. It was really incredible, and I just really appreciate you taking the time to check our school out. If your students registered this semester, I hope you are ready to go and super excited. Classes are starting next week for our students. If you're confused on any of your class times, your schedule, you have any question about your supplies, biggest thing I can tell you, I encourage you to contact your admissions representative today. We're in the office again tomorrow, and we'll even have a team of 10 to 12 people in the office on Saturday. Just remember next week, those classes are going to start, so it's right around the corner. Someone says, what's your price compared to other schools like Full Sail? I think we're going to be pretty comparable to schools like Full Sail, SCAD, and we're going to be cheaper than a lot of schools like Parsons and Art Center and things like that. All right, awesome. Thank you, everyone. I'll throw that email in there one more time, and feel free to email me individually one-on-one if there's anything I can help you with. I'm in the office tomorrow, and I'll be here a little bit later tonight. All right, well, thank you, everyone, for joining us for the student work webinar. Really great to be able to share with you the amazing accomplishments of our students in 2021.